why we're here and therefore where we're going. When you think about children planning their funerals because they don't think they will live, past their teens, that's what I was referring to, not exclusively African American children, but the notion that you could see yourself and see yourself whole some 400 years hence, I think is the most important part of it. And that's what I meant by all of that. Because, it's not about brown children or not. It is, unfortunately, a part of our history where, to be brown and male and American is an issue. It's a hazard. It's part of this inextricable relationship between racism and sexism and, you see, things that we have to figure out yet.
Okay, on board. That there was a definite contrast in your femininity between the first season and the second season. That the first season, you were almost made to be manly, and the second season, you were allowed to be a female who was in control. Can you tell us how that came about, how you kind of spoke with the producers and writers about that?
Yes.
Thank you.
It speaks to Patrick's point, too. If he was terrified, as the first Englishman to be cast in the role of captain, can you imagine how everybody felt when the first woman stepped on the bridge? The people in charge were very, very nervous, right? I was of childbearing years, and I was a girl. I had bosoms and I had hair. And those things did not fit the demographic. You know what I'm talking about? Mr. Stewart, with all due respect, no bosoms. No hair. So for the first season, they just spent all of their time, all of their energy, and all of their focus on strapping my bosom, fixing my hair, and I had 12 or 15 different hairdos, working with my voice, my stride, and I finally went to them, guys, and I said, listen, if you don't leave me alone, it's not going to work. Because the audience is smarter than you guys are. That's why it is a vast, universal, highly intelligent audience. They will trust me if you allow me to command this ship. Now I warned you, I missed the gas station. My mistake. Let me correct it by being myself. And let these young men come to me of their own volition. And that's what they did. And that's why the second season, I was so gloriously sexy.
Yes.
With Enterprise.
Yes.
He's got the tool mic going on. So we get every enunciation. When you were approached, I heard that you were quite nervous about following these other four captains, and then when you learned that your series was actually a prequel, you were more open to accepting the role. Can you tell us still about the pressures you felt?
Well, I would have had my series been after Gates, I wouldn't have taken the job. And I was thinking all those thoughts in my head because they were expecting me to be jumping up and down. Oh, thank you for that lovely offer to do the show. And I was in my head going, how am I going to say no? And then they said, and the great thing about this, you're 100 years before Kirk. And right in my head, immediately, I was in. I was completely in because I knew that I wouldn't have to follow any of these fabulous people. And so I could screw up all on my own, and you folks who know all of our work better than we know our own work wouldn't be able to yell at me for, when Kate would take the bridge, she would do such and such. And every time, so it was a chicken's way out, but happily it worked out for me.
It did work out.
seen one episode, and I've got two non-track related questions for...
Which episode? What episode have you seen? Be very careful with your answer.
I saw The Trouble with Trevor. My question for Mr. Shatner is, what got you interested in horses? And my question for Miss Mulgrew is, what was it like being Mrs. Strang in Eccles?
What?
So I heard Kate say what?
And I'm shocked.
What was your question for me?
Okay.
Maybe I should answer Kate's question.
What was your question? What got you interested in horses?
Horses.
Yes.
There's a science fiction question. I've always been interested in horses. They're, arguably among the most beautiful animals. And I've always had a yen to ride and ride well. And as I learned to ride and as I practiced more and more, I got to be able to communicate with the animal. You think you're communicating with your dog or your pet because you live with it, but in fact you're talking to it and assuming that the dog or the cat or whatever your pet is understanding you. But you know that the horse is listening to you or not because you're on its back and it's telling you yes, no, or I'm indifferent to this. So there's an actual conversation going on between a horse and the rider. If you're a sophisticated enough rider, you can have that conversation. I wish to go here. Well, I don't want to go. Maybe people like, no, I don't want to go there. And you have that conversation, and it's a discussion. And you should win that. And you should make moves to make your part of the discussion paramount, because otherwise the horse will do what it wants, and that may involve going into a brick wall. But that's the love of the horse, the communication between this beautiful animal and yourself. That's the love of horses.
Thank you. And Kate Mulgrew, my question was, what was it like being Mrs. Strang in Eccles on Broadway?
I don't know because I didn't play Mrs. Strang. I played Hester Solomon.
Okay, what was it like anyway?
Well, clearly, since you so enjoyed the performance, what did you specifically like about it?
I never saw it.
It was great fun. Thank you. It was great fun.
Thank you. All right, let's go over here, please.
First, I'd like to say that I am a Trekkie. And have done so much outside of Star Trek too. So I'd like to know, is there one dream role, either on Broadway or in film, that you've always wanted to play, but you've never had a chance to? And